I'm Rachel Ballatori, founder and CEO of Mill & Co. Welcome back to the Mill Podcast. Today I am so excited and honored and pumped and all the fun words to be joined by a very good friend of mine, Hashira Rodriguez. She's the Director of Development for the Boys and Girls Club of Manchester. She's also an alum of the Boys and Girls Club of Manchester and has nearly 20 years of experience with the club movement. But before moving back to Manchester in 2022, Hashira served as the club director of the Boys and Girls Club of Elizabeth City in North Carolina. She had previously served on the Boys and Girls Club of Manchester staff as teen director, where she helped lead the teen program to become nationally recognized by Boys and Girls Club of America. Hashira's background in program development, nonprofit management, and community relations make her a great fit as she takes on the role of Director of Development. Her dedication and passion for the youth of Manchester made it only right that she returned to the club to join the staff. Hashira currently resides in Manchester with her 4-year-old son, Elijah. Hashira, thank you so much for being here with us today.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Yes. So, Hashira, I want to start with some personal questions.
Awesome.
You obviously have a lot of experience working with children and young adults. What should people keep in mind when it comes to building genuine and trusting relationships with that age group?
Definitely. I would say, not all kids are the same. Here at the Boys and Girls Club, we serve over 500 kids a day. And, I've worked with children of all ages, but for me specifically, teenagers have always been my favorite group to work with because there's a reason that they continue to come back every single day. And, there's great programs and great opportunities, but it's because of those connections that they build with the staff. Being a mentor or a role model to teens especially makes such a huge difference. It's great to help a kindergartner learn how to tie their shoes or, teaching kids how to read because that's so important. But, when you have a teenager that is excited to tell you about their first job, that, they're going to check out of college because of a trip that they're going on with the club, or even that they're graduating high school and that they couldn't have done it without the Boys and Girls Club. I think that those are really the most meaningful, connections that are made. And I think that impact within teenagers, I think that's just that long lasting. And it's just proof of, those programs and those connections and those mentors just really make a difference for those kids.
Yeah. And especially for the kids that come in at a young age.
Mm-hmm.
And you get to be with them through those life stages, the big milestones, the journeys, moving into some more, transition type times in their life.
Mm-hmm.
I imagine that's also really critical to play that role with those kids that come in at such a young age.
Oh, absolutely. Because I think kids get to a certain age where, they might be like too cool to come to the club or, like they don't have to have their parents, send them to the club after school. And so the club now becomes a choice. So when kids actually choose to, walk from their high school or get picked up by the bus or drive here, and now, when they're driving and they still make that choice to be here, I think it really shows that that the Boys and Girls Club, how important it is in these kids' lives, because they could be anywhere else. But, to be here at the club, I think it just really shows how impactful the program really is.
And speaking from firsthand experience, when you gave me a tour a few months ago, it's not a place to go. It's a community in which you belong.
Mm-hmm.
And it was so clear to me, and we'll talk a bit about our pasta day that we did together, but the camaraderie, the support, the trust, the relationship building, even watching some of the kids mentor each other.
Absolutely.
Within the same age group or from differing age groups was really beautiful to see. And I think that stems from what you and the staff instill in each other as this is how we run this ship.
For sure. I think, you could talk to hundreds of alum or, staff or people that have grown up within these walls. And I think you'll hear that from a lot of people that it's like family. For a lot of kids and, even kids like myself growing up here at the club, it's like a family that we didn't have. You find these role models and these mentors and this guidance that you may not be getting at home. And it's here at the Boys and Girls Club every single day. And you see those kids come back every single day because it's the place that they want to be at. It's the place that they feel safest at. And they know that they have people that will always have their back, which is great.
Yeah. And in some instances, those kids really need that in their life, or it might be lacking in their home life or outside of the club. And so it is it is deeply critical to be building that kind of trusting, genuine relationship with these kids.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think that's a great way to describe it. Like programs like the Boys and Girls Club, they are deeply critical for kids in this community. And it's just, because it's kids from all different backgrounds. So whether it's a two-parent home or, a grandparent raising these children, there is a reason why the club is there for these kids. And, there's that constant stigma of, that it's for low-income children or kids that live in certain areas of our community. But the Boys and Girls Club is for everybody, for everybody and anybody. And we make it so that there are no barriers to accessing these programs. And I think that we do a really good job at that.
Totally agree with that. And it's, again, anyone that walks the walls of the club will know that. So as an alum yourself, how do you feel that your past experience, like you've watched the club go through years of transition and evolution? I mean, it must be so exciting. And I'm curious, how has that influenced your passion, your decision making that you make now as the director of development?
Oh, for sure. I grew up at the Boys and Girls Club, and the club was like kind of like my guiding source for a lot of things growing up. I was here since middle school. I stayed at the club through high school. The club is why I went to college. I graduated first in my family from college, and that couldn't have happened without the Boys and Girls Club. But I think that it's almost an advantage also as being director of development for the organization that I grew up in, because I can tell you everything about the club, and I can bring you in for a tour, because I think once you see it, it truly makes a difference. What you're going to take back from it, actually seeing it in action, but also having that personal experience that, I'm one of the thousands of kids or club alumni that the club has made that difference for, that I can truly say that without the Boys and Girls Club, I wouldn't know where I would be as an adult, that the Boys and Girls Club truly saved my life as a kid. And I think that impact alone as director of development, having that, it makes it a little easier to speak about this place that means so much to me.
And I'm sure you've been on the receiving end of staff. So you're like, these are the things that work. Mm-hmm. This is the stuff that's great. These are the things that I think could use a little bit of improvement, or here's ways that we can make this better.
For sure.
And that is such a unique perspective that you bring to the table, that if they were to hire someone outside of the club who's never been in the club or just has experience, developing an organization, they're just not going to have that experience.
And I think what one really great thing is, even our previous directors of development have all had some sort of connection to the club, whether being in that staff role previously or, being an alum like myself and a staff. But I think, that all two previous directors of development prior to me were program staff and then moved into the role of development. So I think it's like you said, just having that advantage of knowing what works, knowing what we do every day. Like, we were the people that were on the ground, hands-on doing these things with the kids, and now being able to talk about it. And there are days that we're still hands-on and serving snack or being hall monitors or what have it. But I think it truly makes a difference in being able to speak to people about this organization.
And for the kids that are there, they know you, they recognize you, they trust you, you have a relationship with them. They might be more prone to listening to you and want to help you and support you in doing your job. I remember, Hashira, you shared with me that when you first got an office, I think it was, that kids were kind of peeking around and poking their heads in, and what are you doing over here? Why are you in this room?
Yeah. Well, I for a long time I didn't have an office. When I worked in the teen center, I had a corner. So the kids had actually made a sign that said Hashira's Corner. And then when they redid the building in 2011, I finally had an office, and the kids were really shocked that, I had my own space and, that I just wasn't in my corner with my computer anymore. But it was just, for the kids, not only did they have their teen center, but then they had their office where if we needed to have those conversations that, sometimes they couldn't have with their parents, or I'd even get the phone calls where the parents would say hey, could you talk to so-and-so about this, because they don't want to talk to me about it. And I know that you can guide them in the right direction. And a lot of times I would literally say the same things that their parents would say. But it's just that sometimes it takes that person for them to hear it correctly sometimes. But I think our staff, in all the areas, whether it's kids club with our younger kids or in the teen center, like they're having conversations every day. They're making these connections with the kids, and it's just like our staff are really there for our club kids and their families, like any way that we can be.
It's one of the few jobs in the world, being in education or working with kids, working with children, working with people, especially young children, young adults.
Mm-hmm.
You're not just like managing a shoe store where you just have product and you're selling it and you're just trying to, do your best to get it out the door. Not only do you have a job to do, working at the Boys and Girls Club, but you have a job and a responsibility to each child that comes through the door.
Right.
It is such a complex role that shouldn't be taken lightly. And again, from my experience, it is not taken lightly.
Yeah.
People go above and beyond to help, just to lend a hand, not only because they genuinely want to, but also they want the kids to see this is the right behavior to be doing. We help each other. We support each other. I've got your back all the time, even if you don't ask for it.
Yeah, that is very true. And I think, it's a lot of times, people think of after school programs or before school programs and places like the Boys and Girls Club, and it's like, they think it's like a daycare, or that it's like glamorized babysitters, but that's far from it. These people are mentors. These people are like, they're tutoring, they're mentoring, they're guiding, our staff are truly making a difference every single day. This isn't, every day is not an easy day. Some days are definitely tougher than others, but our staff every single day step up to the plate. They show up for these kids 110%, to make sure that these kids get the best programming that there is to offer, here at the club and within the city. And I think, like we could have all the coolest programs. We could have, STEM, and we can have, video games and performing arts, but it's truly our staff that hold those walls together and make that stuff happen every day, because you could give them the space, and those kids, they don't just come back because they love basketball. They come back because of those connections that they're making with the staff. And I think like our staff sometimes, this is my little like platform to give them a shout out, because I just think like they just do so much hard work, and they just show up so much. And I just think it's awesome that it's not a job that is easy, and it's not a job that should ever be looked down on, because these people do a lot. Our staff do a lot of great work, and I'm really thankful to stand alongside them, every single day.
In addition to the staff, you do have great programming. I mean, was it the STEAM room that you showed me?
Yeah.
The Performing Arts Center was like one of the nicest ones I've seen as an adult. The Planet Fitness that's inside of this beautifully refinished basketball court. I mean, it is not daycare. It is a learning experience for these kids.
Absolutely. I mean, and I think it's opportunities. For example, our teen membership is $10 for the entire year. And our teens have access to STEM, to arts, to 3D printing. They have their own mini Planet Fitness. They can get hip hop and jazz and tap dance lessons. They can learn how to cook. They're learning financial responsibility. They're learning college prep. They're getting information on workforce development. They're learning how to make pasta. And you're doing that for $10 for the entire school year. And our membership rates are different for every age group. But the fact that, teens especially, there's teens every single day. They have a safe place to go to. And even if they can't afford those $10, we find a way so that there's not a barrier to getting them in here. And I think it shows. I believe yesterday they had like 120 kids here. Last night when I was leaving, it was like 5 o'clock. There's 120 kids. We closed at 7 o'clock, and there were still 10 more walking in as I was walking out. So I think it shows kids want to be here. Kids show up, and it's really important that we have this building here.
Yeah, I agree. And this is probably a really hard question to answer. I want you to try your best. If you could pick one thing, just one, what is the most rewarding part about working for the Boys and Girls Club of Manchester?
That's a great question and a hard one. But I would say the most rewarding is the kids afterwards. When you run into they're young adults now, and you run into them at the grocery stores, and like you run into them at the mall or wherever it is, and they recognize you right away, and they're like, I wouldn't be who I am without the Boys and Girls Club. Like, or they're excited to show you, that they graduated from college, or you see them working somewhere and, that they learned those interview skills in the counselor and training program. But when you hear a kid say, like, I wouldn't be doing this without the Boys and Girls Club, or, like without the staff or without you, that's the most rewarding. It's always like, because we've worked so hard to get kids up to that point. You want them to graduate high school. You want them to have a plan for after high school, and whether it's working, the military, college, whatever it is, you want them to be successful adults when they leave the club. And when you see that, I think that that's the best for sure. And now, a lot of the kids that were teens in my program are now young adults, and they're starting their own families. And I mean, I just had a play date with one recently, and we went to their birthday party, and I mean, it's kind of wild, but it's amazing. It's incredible.
It's a delayed gratification like no other.
Absolutely. Like, and I think that's the thing. It's like, there is no instant gratification in these roles sometimes.
Yeah.
It is that delayed gratification, but just know that work that is put in every day, that gratification will come. It will come.
Yeah, that's beautiful. That's a very good answer, by the way. So you teased this a little bit, but in July, Mill & Co. hosted a pasta making day with some kids at the club.
Yeah.
How did it go? What did you think?
It was awesome. It was so fun. It was messy. But the
flour
kids,
like dripping from the ceiling and all
the
over
kids
my
had,
hair.
Like, flour handprints on their faces. But I think it was just so great to see the kids so engaged and so excited, and just so involved in the process. Like you said, it was so easy. It's flour and eggs, but the process alone, it's a labor of love. And seeing the kids just so invested in this, because at first, when you're telling the kids, you're telling these tweens and teens, hey, we're going to make pasta. Oh, pasta. Oh, great. Like, how long is this going to take? Right? But then all of a sudden it became like, they were talking, you asked them, what do you want to be when you grow up? And one girl said, I want to be a judge. That started other conversations within her friends that said, hey, I didn't know that, but I want to be a lawyer. Like, we should work together. We should look into schools together. And then it became they're making the pasta and they're cutting the pasta, and they're having these conversations while they're eating pasta, like, oh wow, this actually turned out really good. I wonder which noodle is mine that I made, and like, but it became more of like those organic conversations. And I was asked, like, when are we doing this again? When is this happening again? Is she coming back? Is Rachel coming back again next week? And I was like, guys, we're not going to make pasta every week, but I'm sure Rachel will be back, for another opportunity. And I just thought it was awesome. It was probably one of the best experiences that I've seen our kids be a part of. And so it was just really cool to see that all come to life. So yeah, thank you for doing that.
Thank you for sharing. That means a lot. As a first generation Italian woman, the way that we look at food is it's a vehicle for memories. It's a vehicle for sharing. It's a vehicle for conversation. We eat because the food's good, and we cook because we enjoy the process. But my best memories as a kid were in the kitchen, and we weren't talking about the food. They showed me through action, and I was trying my best to show the kids through action so that they could have the conversation with themselves of like, now, how many eggs did we crack in here? Oh, that's right. Okay, it was all 4, and then we don't get the shells. Remember, don't get the shells. And it's more the conversation, the teamwork, the sharing that comes out of doing something like that at the end of the day, I don't think they realized that they were making pasta dough without eating for 3 hours. That is a lot of time to have the attention of kids, and not one kid that I could see at least was like, I'm checked out. They were all engaged.
They were so engaged.
And they worked together, and they were sharing conversations about career goals and life goals, and if they want to ever start cooking. And if one girl said to me, I'm totally going to make this at home. This is like inspired me. And I remember walking away like, that's everything I wanted to hear out of this.
Yeah.
That someone will take this and go home and do it because it's flour and eggs.
Right.
It doesn't take much. And if you do have those elements at home, you can make something really meaningful for your family. And then beyond that, have those conversations while you do it.
Yeah, it was really great. It was really great. And it's like you said, it's flour and eggs, and for our kids to learn that skill, and to have, like, it'll be easy for us to have those supplies here, you know. So if our kids ever want to be like, hey, I want to make this at home for my mom, easy. Well, free food Friday, we'll put it out, eggs and flour, and everybody can make some pasta. But you know, for our kids to have that skill, our tween director Gil said it best to his teens. He said, you know, you're going to be in rooms of people that will never have this skill, and that's what we're trying to teach you every single day. We're trying to teach you the skills that other people are not able to gain, but because you're here, you're able to gain those skills daily. Like, you're learning pasta making. How many other kids are you going to go to school with in September that know how to make pasta?
Yeah, very
and
few.
We're like, that's so true. It's so true.
It's so true. It's a dying art, but beyond the food piece of it, to be able to commit to something like that, to me, shows a ton of strength, dedication, patience, and motivation. You know, it is not an easy thing to make, although it's easy to have the ingredients. And, you know, I was thinking, Hashira, that the next time I'd make the dough at home, flatten it, but then we'd make raviolis together because I have the little cutters that we can.
They would love that.
Yeah, we'll make the filling together, like a no-cook filling, you know, and then we'll stuff them, we'll lay it, and we'll cut them together.
Yeah, they would absolutely love that.
Yeah, we'll make it happen. Maybe after I get married.
Yes, for sure. Get through the wedding first.
Right. Yeah. So thinking about donors and volunteers, you know, it is always complicated when working with people outside of your dedicated staff, and then also donors, sponsors, people that are like, we want to contribute, we want to be involved. What are some challenges that you've maybe faced with those two groups, and then how have you worked to overcome them?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think, you know, I'm new to this role. Well, not anymore. I mean, it's been a year, and I finally feel like I got my feet wet, and I feel a lot more comfortable in doing this job. But I was used to working with kids and working with parents. And when I ran a club in North Carolina, you know, the most that got donated was like tacos. So it's a big difference to ask people to give their time or their treasures, you know, and those are two things that we're always going to need here at the club. You know, we're going to need volunteers. We're going to need people to support our programs and our efforts. And I think the toughest part for me was just getting over my own self-doubt and doubting myself that I wouldn't be a good fit for this role, and doubting myself that I couldn't have these conversations with people. And there was no reason for me to have that self-doubt besides just, you know, creating it myself and you know, having that like anxious and nervous feeling of like, oh my gosh, but I'm not going to do it better than whomever. But and I'm not going to do it how they did it. And then I had to realize I don't have to do it how they did it. I don't have to do it like them, because I'm me and I'm going to do things differently. And this is going to work for me because of who I am. And that's truly made a difference in having these conversations and meeting people and connecting with, you know, people that I knew from my past, you know, time here at the Boys and Girls Club, you know, reconnecting with people. And it's just been because of my own personal experience, because of what I can talk about. It's truly made a difference when I can connect with people, but I had to get over my own self-doubt. And I think that can happen as, you know, as professionals, especially as women. Like, we sometimes are our biggest enemies, and we can be our biggest doubter, and sometimes our biggest hater on our own self. And it's like, we got to get over that, because we also need to be our biggest cheerleader. Like, if anybody's going to be rooting for me in any room I walk into, it's going to be me first. Yeah. And then I hope everybody else will be. But regardless, like, I had to get over of that self-doubt and that fear, and just remind myself, like, I may not do it like them, but I'm going to do it like me, and I'm going to do it great. And every answer may not be yes, but if it's a no, we might come back to it. But I hope it might be a maybe instead of a no. But if it's a no, that's okay, because every answer may not be a yes, but the goal is that, you know, we can still find people to connect with the club, to give back some way. And I think, you know, within this year, I think I've done a really good job at trying to make that happen.
You have. And what you described, Hashira, is called imposter syndrome.
For sure.
And a lot of people, a lot of women in business, a lot of women in positions of power like yourself, like myself, struggle with that. Because we're not always raised, even though you had a great experience at the Boys and Girls Club, there's a lot of other societal factors that contribute to us feeling like we're not worthy, or we don't deserve this, or, well, we were just given this because of whatever reasons there are, you know, and what I've found is the people who say no to me, it's not meant for me.
Right.
It's not meant for them. And it's not worth my time to continuously chase a no when
Mm-hmm.
for every one no, there might be 50 yeses. And those are emphatic, excited, supported,
Exactly.
motivated, generous yeses. Those are the
Mm-hmm.
ones you fixate on. And then
Yeah.
suddenly the no's are like, I don't have time for
Right.
that because I look at all these yeses that I have. And
Right.
I think a good message for anyone watching is A, doubting yourself is normal. It
Mm-hmm.
happens to all of us.
Yeah.
It's hard to prevent it. Even if you're like, I've overcome my imposter syndrome, I guarantee you there are still times that you're like, ooh, yikes,
Right.
I shouldn't have. Does that
Absolutely.
mean? But the beauty of what you said, Hashira, I think the big take home message that with this is being self aware
Mm-hmm.
that this is how I'm feeling. Let me check in with my reality. Is this actually happening? Or is this just
Mm-hmm.
something that I think is happening? That is such a critical step, having that moment of self reflection and self
For sure.
awareness to then say, this isn't reality. Look at all these great things I've done. Look at these people that have supported me. So, for the one thing that didn't go the way I wanted it, that will not cloud all of these incredible things that I've accomplished.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Because I think, and that self-awareness and that realization, because I truly believe like we have some of the greatest supporters and greatest donors, and like they just like love the club. And it's so great to share that with people that like love the club and already are, long time supporters. But then like my favorite thing is like bringing new people in that like have no idea like what the club is
Right.
and what goes on here, and like making that impact on them, and it's 30 minutes, like, oh, I'll bring you in for a tour, we'll talk about the club, and then all of a sudden you're like, you're in love with this place and you want more of it. I mean, it
Yeah.
happened to you, and I think
Happened
like
to me.
that, I literally just got goosebumps because it's like that is my favorite
Yeah.
thing so far of this role, has just been like bringing people in that have never been through these doors, and just changing that mindset of like, it's not just a brick building, there's not just kids here, there's so much more. And it's like,
Yeah.
it makes my role a little easier when it's like, it's just fun and bring you in, let's talk about
Yeah.
the club, because I love talking about the club, like.
Yeah. I remember we were at that breakfast, the
Mm-hmm.
Boys and Girls Club breakfast, and I'm sitting there watching this video that was put together with tears welling up in my eyes. And I leaned over to my fiance and I said, I don't care what it takes. I have to get involved. And he's like, you have no time. But I totally think it's a great idea. But like, how are you going to do it? And I was like, I don't know. I'm going to do it though.
Yeah.
And here we are, what was that? That
Yeah.
was maybe May, 2 months
Yeah.
later. We're having a
April. That was
pasta day.
April. And wow.
April. Yeah. And
It's,
I
oh
just,
my gosh, it's been 3 months. That's it. That's so crazy. I feel like I've known you forever.
I know. I have that effect on people, I think. Too open, over and overshare. Share as what I'm an overshare. But I encourage anyone who is watching to please look into the Boys and Girls Club of America, your local chapter, and if you are local to
Mm-hmm.
New Hampshire, please look into the Manchester location. Contact Hashira, go on a tour, experience it, because the more that you know, you may not even. The minute I was there, instantly I had the idea for the pasta
Mm-hmm.
making class.
Yeah.
It wasn't before I came in. I was like, what a great program to pop in here and see how it does. And maybe it becomes something more consistent for the
Yeah.
club that helps benefit the kids.
Mm-hmm.
You never know who you know, you never know
Right.
how you can help someone. And then when you experience it, it might trigger something for you. So if you are watching, please connect with Hashira on LinkedIn. And Hashira, I have one more question for you,
Yeah.
really geared towards families that are
Mm-hmm.
hesitant or curious about registering their kids to the Boys and Girls Club programs. What would you tell them?
I would say come for a tour for sure. Please come for a tour. I think that don't let like what you may think the Boys and Girls Club is make that decision for you. I think like you really have to come see it in person. There are programs here that truly make a difference and really change lives. The opportunities that are provided to kids of all ages, I think, are endless here at the Boys and Girls Club. And I think as a parent, as a guardian, as family, I think knowing that your child is safe, whether it's before school and you can bring them here as early as 6:30 in the morning, or they can be here till 7 or 8 o'clock after school, and they are picked up by our buses. They have snack every day. They can have dinner if you don't have time to cook it at home. They get help with their homework. They can learn how to like dance and jazz or be in a musical. Like the opportunities here are endless. And knowing that it's a one-stop shop for all of these great programs and that you're not going to have to run around town to have them play basketball, to have them in dance, to whatever it may be, because it's all offered here at the club. I think that, I would say definitely come for a tour, come check it out. And if it's the right fit for you, I really hope it would be. Just give it a shot, because I think, the Boys and Girls Club, with our staff, the mentoring that happens here, the education, just the learning center itself, knowing that your kids can get help with their homework, can get help with their reading. The goal is to make, successful, responsible adults when they leave here at the Boys and Girls Club. And I think we do a lot of that to get that going. And I would just say, give it a chance, come for a tour, and you're not going to want to leave. So
you're not going to want to leave. I'm already planning my next trip back. I'm inviting myself back inside. Thank you so much, Hashira. Well, Hashira, I can't thank you enough for joining. It has been a pleasure, as always, to get to chat with you. I love your energy. You just make me feel so comfortable and at ease. And I encourage everyone to please connect with Hashira on LinkedIn. She'll happily send you her email address and you guys can chat. For everyone watching The Mill, thank you. Thank you for tuning in. As always, we will see you again in a couple weeks.